All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. I am Michelle Morris from Consolidated Planning Group. I really appreciate you being here. I hope that this webinar will provide some really great, helpful information for you about the different waiver programs, how to fund your child's future, all kinds of different things that you need to know. Um, and even if you just walk away with one or two little tidbits that are helpful, I hope that's good. Um, so I can't hear you or see you because we're in webinar mode. And unfortunately, I don't know how to turn on captioning. Someone was asking um, how, if I could turn that on. I don't know how in Anyway, okay, so I can't hear you or see you, so please put your questions and comments in the chat box. There's already some great stuff out there. It looks like each person individually needs to turn on their own captioning under accessibility in the settings. Thank you for that tip, Barbie. We are recording today's webinar, and later on today, you will receive a link to the recording, which will be to our YouTube channel. And you will also receive the slides. So any links that are in the slides I'm presenting today, you'll be able to click those later. And you'll be able to watch the recording again so that you can get all of our important information. So this meeting should be about an hour. I've got about an hour to present to you today. And I hope you enjoy it. So the first thing I want to talk about is, who are we? Who is Consolidated Planning Group? Why do we host these webinars? And why should you listen to us? Well, we are first and foremost a financial planning firm. We are holistic planners. We want to look at your full financial picture. We're an independent firm located just outside of Houston. And we serve families all across the United States. We started primarily in Texas, but now we work everywhere in the United States. So if you know anybody who has a loved one with a disability, please bring them, share this with them, bring them to us, tell them about us. About 95% of the clients that we serve do have a loved one with some sort of intellectual or developmental disability. We've been doing this for over 30 years, and the owner of our company, she and her husband have 4 kids altogether, and 2 of them have disabilities. So that's why we really have focused our business to help you, to advocate for you, and to help you understand, what you need to do, what is really important, what can wait, what the correct information is, and just clear out the noise and the chatter out there so that you can focus on what's most important. We are members of the Special Needs Planning Academy. We are also certified Social Security advisors. And I have just finished my training to earn my Chartered Special Needs Consultant certification. So I'll officially have that certification at the beginning of next month. So until then, I'm pending, I guess. So when people think about special needs planning, people come to us because we help with, lining up a lifetime of care. Most financial advisors, they focus on helping you save for retirement or your financial goals, whether that be college or weddings or, living a fantastic retirement. Of course, we do all of that stuff. But when you have a child who might not be able to take care of themselves, might not be able to be completely independent, or, they might need care for the rest of their lives, that looks very different. And it's almost like planning for 3 retirements when you have a loved one who needs care. So we help families think about those things. We utilize things like protection plans, thinking about protecting your income for your life and making sure it's going to be there to fund your child's care as well. And what does that lifetime of care look like? What is that going to cost? How much money is it going to take? And how can you possibly set aside that much money? We do a lot of work with planning for transitions from a minor to an adult when they turn 18. There's a lot that changes legally and financially that you need to consider. And then when they're transitioning from high school to the real world, whatever that looks like for your family, there's a lot to consider in that area too, because you don't want your child just to graduate to the couch to play video games. So we help you look at those possibilities. And of course, we do ABLE accounts, and we help you understand your special needs trust, your benefits, all of those kinds of things that are very, very important to families who have a loved one with a disability. So again, we are here to educate you, to advocate for you, and you know that you're in the right place when you're working with us, because we live it, we breathe it. We truly focus on serving families like yours. In the United States, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there are over 263,000 financial advisors across the whole United States. But out of those 263,000 financial advisors, fewer than 200 focus on special needs financial planning. That's less than 0.1% of all the financial advisors in the United States who do what Consolidated Planning Group does. So we are truly the source, the resource for you. So today, like I said, we're going to be focusing on Medicaid waivers, SSI eligibility, preserving those benefits for your loved ones. If you have any questions as I'm going, please feel free to put them in the chat box. If I don't get to it right away, I promise I will do my best to get to all the questions before we're finished today. So here in Texas, and today's webinar, even though we focus on helping families all across the United States, waivers are state-based programs. So a lot of what we're talking about today when we talk about the waiver programs is going to focus on Texas. So here in Texas, there are many different waiver programs, but we're going to be talking about these 8 community living assistance and support services, which is called CLASS. There's one called DBMD, which is for deaf and blind and multiple disabilities. HCS is for home and community-based services. Texas Home Living. MDCP is medically dependent children. There's a STAR Plus waiver, youth empowerment services, and community first choice. So those are the ones we're going to really focus on today. So these are some descriptions of what each of the waiver programs do and where they focus. Now, in Texas, unfortunately, the wait for a waiver can be very long. When I started in about 2020 doing this, about 4 years ago, we were told that the wait for the waiver programs was 15 to 17 years. Well, now and 4 short years later, we're being told that that wait is more like 20 to 25 years. So it's important to get your loved one on the waiting list for these waivers as soon as possible. And I will go over how to get on the list. But let's talk about what each waiver does. So the first one is CLASS. Now, this is a very broad waiver. It gives supports to children and adults with related conditions. And there are over 200 different related conditions. So this is any kind of intellectual developmental disability. cerebral palsy, spina bifida, all kinds of different things. And the condition that your individual has to have started before the child was 22 years old. So when you're looking at a waiver like class that serves pretty much everybody, you have to remember that the waiting list is going to be especially long for a waiver like class. Now, the next one, DBMD, is for people who are deaf and blind and have another disability. So, and you don't have to be deaf and blind when you apply, but you have to have a condition that is leading to full deafness and blindness. So that you can see, that's a very narrow waiver. It only serves this specific group of people. So the waiting list for DBMD is very short. It's, under a year if you have deaf, blind, and multiple disabilities. So for HCS, again, this is a very broad waiver. It gives services and supports to children and adults. I hope that answers the question, children and adults who have an intellectual disability or any related condition. They can live in their own home or they can live in small group homes, no more than 4 people. HCS is one of the waivers that has like the deepest pockets. It really provides a lot of assistance and support. So no, you do not have to be 18 or above to apply for the waivers. As a matter of fact, you should be applying for these waivers as soon as possible. MDCP, medically dependent children. So medically dependent, this is for children and adults. MDCP is if you are 20 and younger, who are medically fragile. So some of these waiver programs, like MDCP would have a shorter wait. Now I see something in the chat box that says, my daughter was denied. Sometimes that does happen. There are criteria for the waiver programs that we're going to get to. But sometimes, the Social Security Administration or Health and Human Services, they might take a look at your child's medical records and they might think that your child is not, and there's no nice way to say this, but your child is not severely handicapped enough or affected by their disability enough to receive the waiver. They look at IQ scores. They're really trying to focus on helping individuals with an IQ under 70 or under 75 if they have another disability. But it's not just for every single person who asks. They are really trying to focus on serving the people who need it the most. And we'll get into more of the criteria and more of your questions. Now, when you get the waiver, you also get Medicaid. It comes along with the waiver. So you do not have to be on Medicaid first to get the waivers. STAR Plus is a waiver program that is for people who are 21 and above. So it's just for adults. You can get on their list for that waiver when they're 21. And that, again, the list is not very long for HCBS, for STAR Plus. And really, they're helping people stay out of nursing home facilities. They're trying to keep people in their homes, in their communities, and not rely on the state to take care of them. So let's see, Texas Home Living for children and adults with intellectual disabilities or a related condition. Youth Empowerment Service is a Medicaid program for children under age 19. This one is for mental and emotional and behavioral difficulties. There's usually not a wait for the YES program. But with the YES program, the mental and emotional and behavioral issue needs to be your child's main diagnosis. It's not like, it's not just one of the symptoms, it's their main thing. And then there's community first choice, which again does not have a long list. Services would be through a managed care organization. It's the same for Star Plus, that you use a managed care organization to help find the support and the services. We have had other webinars where we have like the Health and Human Services people or some of the providers come on and talk about HCS waivers or some of these other waivers. But these are the big 8 waivers. You can only have one waiver at a time. So for example, you know, you get on all the waiting lists, and then your name comes up for class or something like that, and you get on the class waiver. You're still on the waiting list for the other waiver programs, and you can, you know, continue waiting, and maybe later on your name will come up for the HCS waiver. Like I said, they've got really big pockets. So that's one of the most popular waivers is the HCS waiver. So when your name comes up on that one, you would decide, do I want to stay where I am? Do I want to move over to this other waiver? You can only have one at a time. And it depends, you know, I see a question in the chat. What is HCS the best? Well, it does provide a whole lot of stuff, and it's big, deep pockets. Is it the best? Well, it depends what your needs are. If you are okay, DBMD might have a longer wait than just under a year, but when we put this together, it was short. But like I said, it's a much more narrow program than class. You don't have to wait 20 years at least. So when you get a waiver, like I said, Medicaid comes along with the waiver, so that's nice. And then you also can use these to help you pay for things like adaptive aids, financial management services, like what we do, supported employment, other, you know, help finding a job, minor home modifications, respite hours. All of the waivers have those. All of them except MDCP also offer therapies like OT and speech therapy, music, massage, equine therapy, all kinds of therapies, prescription drugs, dental, and nursing. So MDCP doesn't include those because Children's Medicaid will already pay for those anyway. So you would still be able to get those things. Some of the other waiver services that can be provided, transportation to and from a workplace or medical or, you know, therapies. They offer help with residential services, day hab programs, which is now they're calling ISS, individual socialization services or something like that. And they, again, nursing hours. And it's great because you can have nurses come to the home. Now, it's not a perfect system. It's still hard to find support systems and these services and to get nurses and respite care providers to come out. It's never going to be easy, unfortunately, but the waivers do help with some of these things. So let's talk about the criteria and the general eligibility, what they look for. So first of all, whatever waiver you're applying for, you have to know or reasonably believe that in the future you will qualify for, you know, don't go applying for MDCP if your child is not medically dependent. Don't apply for YES, which is the one that deals with mental diagnoses, when your child only has something else. They don't have the mental disturbances or that kind of diagnosis. So apply for the ones that you think you are, going to be eligible for. Most of the waivers are available to people of all ages, except for MDCP, which is under 21. The YES waiver is under age 19, and then STAR Plus is 21 and above. So other than those three, the waiver programs are available and open for people of all ages. Now, there is a little bit of a financial criteria that they look at. All of them except for Texas Home Living. They want your income to be below 300% of the full SSI benefit amount. So that number changes every year because SSI amounts change every year, right? So for 2024, the full SSI benefit that you can be getting or your child can be getting is $943. So you take that times 3, 943 times 3 is $2,829. So for 2024, that is the income limit for most of the waiver programs. Now, they do not look at the parent's income if the child is over 18 years old. So if your child is making more than $2,829 a month, they will not be able to get a waiver. And finally, when you sign up for the waiver programs, you don't have to qualify. You don't have to give them all the information. You're really just putting your name or your child's name on the list, the interest list. Once your name comes up on the list and it's your turn, your spot is open, that is when you have to prove that you are eligible. It's not when you sign up, it's later on when your name comes up on the list. So I know I've got a lot more questions. Let's get into some of these. You don't have to be receiving Medicaid. It comes with Medicaid. You can't be on more than one waiver at a time. You have to decide which one you want. Can you explain the relationship between Medicaid and Texas Health and Human Services? Are the waivers funded federally and administered by the states? Oh, Chris. So the waiver programs, there are waiver programs in every state, and they're run by the state. I think they probably do receive some federal funding, but they are administered by the state and run by the state. Some states, there is no wait list. They use tax revenue from other sources or things like that to fund the waiver programs. What we have seen, and I'm not making a statement either way on my beliefs on this, but what we have seen is that states where they have legalized marijuana typically use that tax revenue to provide funding for the waiver programs and have none or very short wait lists. Here in Texas, it's one of the longest waits for any state waiver program. Now, if you move from Texas into another state, you have to sign up for their waiver programs. Now, Health and Human Services helps administer the program or the waivers, and they use additional service providers like Savita Health and your local intellectual authorities, which we're going to talk about in another moment. Let's see. Yes, you should be on as many waiver wait lists as you think apply to you. Okay, so how would you determine and differentiate between the different programs and know which ones are better? You can Google information about that. If you work with us, we provide a spreadsheet that tells you what the different waivers offer and what amount of funding they generally give to families each year, and what would be best for you. We also can help you. I was thinking this when I was talking about the $943 for SSI benefits. If your child is on SSI and they're not getting the full $943 a month, and they're not working, we can help you figure out why they're not getting the right amount of money. So is HCS the best? Again, I don't know. It's based on your individual needs, but HCS is pretty awesome. If you have a waiver, you also are entitled to get Medicaid. Yes. Okay. Some great comments in the chat. So I hope you are, yes, it's challenging finding somebody to help with the respite care or nursing hours. Yes. Transportation. There's not a specific transportation waiver, but transportation is one of the services that you can get through the waiver programs. So you would talk to your caseworker, and get that lined up. Okay. Yeah, my son has been on the class wait list since he was 3 years old. He's 18 now and still number 6,000 something on the wait list. That is what we see a lot. Okay, so I'm going to continue with the slides and then I'll get back to more questions in a little bit. Okay, so how do I get on this wait list? This really long wait list. You want to contact your LIDA. Some people call it LIDA, whatever. That stands for your local intellectual and developmental disability authority. This is like in Fort Bend, it's Texana. In Harris County, it's the Harris Center. ACOG is one, Bluebonnet, MHMR. You might have heard of some of these things. That's your local intellectual, that we just call it your local authority, or we say your LIDA. So you want to contact your LIDA to get on HCS, Texas Home Living, Community First Choice. And if you're not sure who your LIDA is where you live, you can click this link and find your local authority. You're going to put in your county and it will tell you who services that county. So you want to get in touch with them to get on those lists. You can call this 877 number to get on MDCP class and DBMD. And then we also have an 877 number for Star Plus. So you want to get on this waiting list as soon as possible. If you're not on it yet, call these people. Everybody on this webinar today, you should call that first 877 number, because even if you don't qualify for MDCP or DBMD, you probably qualify for class. So call that 877 number. And everybody here today should also contact their local authority to get on those wait lists. Now, if your child is over 21 or about to be 21, then you can call Star Plus, but that's only for people over the age of 21. So you might not need that one yet. I often tell people, even if your child, was just born, if there is any hint that there might be some kind of intellectual or developmental disability, put them on the wait list, because you don't want to wait 10 years or 20 years or, then they're not going to get services until they're 40 or 50 years old. It's still going to be very helpful, but, get your child on the list as soon as possible. You can now go to yourtexasbenefits.com. That's a link there. You can click that when you get these slides later. And you can go create an account or log into your existing account if you already have one. And you can go to yourtexasbenefits.com to see where you are on the waiting list. You can see which lists you're on. And I think you can even apply. You can get on the waiting lists at this website. So you're going to go to yourtexasbenefits.com, either log in or create an account. And then you're going to see at the top, this red circle isn't quite in the right place, but click Manage. Excuse me. And then you're going to look for Interest List Management. Hold on. Okay, so sorry about that. Interest List Manager. When you click on that, this is what you're going to get. Your interest list ID. It will have your name and your ID number, and then you want to click View Details, and that will take you to this page where you see what interest list you're on, what number you are on the list, and you can join interest lists right there as well. So this is brand new, like within the past year, and it's really beneficial. You can finally go see where you are on the list. All right, let me get to a few more questions. So sorry about my cough there. If you move to a different state, yeah, you're going to have to move. You're going to have to get on the waiting list or the waiver program list in that state. And it's easy to find on Google. How do you know which states have long lists and which ones do not? Again, Google is your friend. If you call us and set up an appointment with us, we can try to point you in the right direction and send you information about that as well. HCS is great if you want a host home. My son is not working and he's only getting $657.30 a month. Ruben, you should set up an appointment with us so we can get you the information about how to make sure your son gets enough money or the full amount. Okay, good. Child support plays a role with SSI. Yes, yes. If you have, and this isn't really the topic we're on, but I will tell you that if your child is getting SSI and they're getting child support beyond age 18, you need to have that child support redirected to a first party special needs trust. Otherwise, it will affect their SSI benefits. It will count as income. Oops. I believe, yes, if your child is over age 18, they're not going to look at their income for the waivers. I mean, they're not going to look at the parents' income for the waivers. If they're under 18, the parents' income does come into play. Medicaid can be used with additional medical insurance. They generally require that you use your private insurance first, and then Medicaid can provide for copays and other things. Thank you for, I love how you guys are chatting in the chat box and answering each other's questions and helping me out. What if your LIDA keeps dropping the ball? Unfortunately, that's not uncommon. And what we have found and what you're going to find is that as a parent, you have to be the squeaky wheel for your child, and you have to keep calling and reaching out, ask to speak to supervisors. I mean, you might even want to call your congressman, call your senators, call your representatives, and get with them on these things, because they are supposed to be our representatives. They're supposed to be helping us with this stuff. So get involved with those too. Okay. Let's continue. There are two funding paths for waivers. We've been talking all this time about getting on the waiting list. That is a first come, first serve situation. It's the entire state, and it can be 20 years waiting list. There's another way to get on waivers, and that is if they are trying to promote independence. They're trying to either prevent somebody from going into a nursing home type of a facility, or they're trying to help individuals get out of an institution or a nursing home facility. So this is a crisis. There's two ways to do that: through a crisis diversion spot or through pre-admission screening and resident review. Okay, so the crisis diversion spot, this is to help prevent people from having to go into a nursing home or an institution, or to be basically under the state control. This is if you are in a crisis situation. Now, we hope that you will never need this, of course. But if you're in a crisis mode, don't miss out on the opportunity. They will basically put you to the top of the HCS waiting list if you're in crisis. This is things like, let's say you and your spouse are taking care of your child and one of you becomes disabled or passes away. Now you only have one caregiver for this child. That's a crisis. Call them. Maybe your parents have to move in with you because now they need care. That's a crisis situation because now you have to care for your parents and your child. What if your child starts to deteriorate mentally and they're becoming a threat to themselves or others, or they're harming themselves or others, or they're threatening to run away? Those are the types of things that they would consider a crisis situation. If you are a single parent and you become ill or disabled, that's a crisis situation. So basically, you contact your LIDA. They do have a separate hotline number for a crisis. You can find that on the same website where you find who your LIDA is. They will help you with the process. You have to stay involved. You have to let them know what's going on. This is not the time to be brave and to put on a happy face and say, oh, I can handle this. This is the time to tell them what's really going on and I need help, or else I'm afraid I'm going to have to put my child into a facility. Okay, so that's what you do if you're in a crisis. Now, the PASRR, pre-admission screening and resident review, this happens at facilities and nursing homes where they are supposed to be reviewing and screening the people who are there or who are coming in and seeing if giving them a waiver would help them avoid going into the nursing home facility. And that link there would take you to the Health and Human Services page that explains about the pre-admission screening and resident review process. All right, I'm going to dive back into some of these questions. How is the amount of SSI calculated? We don't have a mortgage. Is it better to take your mortgage has nothing to do with your SSI. So when your child turns 18, they should be able to qualify for SSI. Most children don't qualify for SSI before they are 18 because there are very low asset and income limits for SSI. So if you are making more than $1,550 a month, or if you have more than 2 or 3, it depends on your family situation. If you're married, it's $3,000. If you have more than one child, I think it goes up. But anyway, you can't have more than $3,000 in the bank, and you cannot have more income than $1,550 a month. So, most people can't live on that. So your child, so you're probably making more than that. You probably have a little more than that in the bank. So that's why your child won't qualify before they turn 18. However, when your child turns 18, you can apply for SSI, and it's based on their own income and their own resources. So as long as they're not working, or if they're not working, making more than $1,550, then they should be able to get SSI. And as long as they don't have more than $2,000 in the bank, they could own a car, and they could own a house. So those are the things you're allowed. You're allowed a house, a car, $2,000, and you're allowed to work as long as you don't make more than $1,550. Those are the rules for SSI after age 18. So the full amount is $943. If your child is working, they will reduce that amount. So that's why I say if your child is not working and they're getting SSI, and they don't have any other income, they should be getting $943. Okay. We put our son on the waiver list 15 years ago, and now they say we didn't, and we need to show proof. Who can we speak to about that? Oh gosh, I'm really not sure about that answer. That's, I would stay on it. Continue calling, look for any proof that you might have when you signed him up. What transportation benefit goes with HCS? Well, you can get transportation to different things that you might need, like daycare or work or medical appointments through your caseworker for the waiver. What was the link to that manage the interest list? That was yourtexasbenefits.com. Right here at the top, yourtexasbenefits.com. And yes, the list would be in the child's name. You're signing them up, so the list would be under their name. Use your adult child's name for the list. Can you also qualify for WIC or SNAP benefits? Yeah, if you qualify for those things, those are separate. It's separate services. You can qualify for as much as you can qualify for. You just can't be on more than one waiver at the same time. Medicaid can help you with your co-pays, yes. I had to say that I had to say that once about reaching out to my congressman. The kind of service I was receiving changed so quickly. It absolutely works. You can call your congressman. They're supposed to be there to help us. I thought being on a waiver program waived parents' income under 18. Maybe, I feel I've been taught, I've learned through my chartered special needs consultant classes that when a child is under 18, they generally think that the parents' income counts because the parents are helping pay for everything for the child. If you're finding different rules out there, though, that would be really great because we want everybody to have a waiver who can, no matter what the parents make. So I hope that is the case. I thought in one of the recent CPG webinars, it was said that if our child has HCS services and needed to move out of state, they were covered. Well, if you're receiving home and community-based services here in Texas and they move out of state, they don't even have the same providers and the same home and community-based services. You have to go through that new state's waiver program to get the benefits there. How much can your child make at their job to stay eligible if they receive SSI and RSDI? So to stay eligible for SSI, it's the $1,550 a month. If an individual lives with his parents, but the diagnosis is causing them to become violent and the parents are having a hard time handling them, that is exactly the kind of situation where you should request the crisis diversion slot. Yes. If you receive an inheritance check for a few $1,000s, how do you not lose your benefits? You should call us and we can walk you through that. It depends who the check goes to, who it's for, where you put it, what kind of account you put it into, all kinds of stuff there. If it's for your child, it should be not written out a check to the child. It should just be put into their third-party special needs trust. That's really the best option. But call our office and let's get you an appointment. We'll talk about your specific case. After age 18, SSI is based on how their disability affects gainful employment. Exactly, Carrie. Gainful employment is $1,550 a month. So that's why we always say, okay, if they're making more than that, that's where the government thinks, well, their disability is not really affecting their ability to work, so they don't get it. They don't get the SSI money. So that's very true. That's part of the definition. All right, let's go back to my last couple of slides and then we'll get the last couple of questions. I think we're doing good on time. When you're thinking about special needs planning, we really want you to work with a professional. It is so important because you can end up messing things up and it's going to cost more money to fix those things than if you had just worked with somebody who really knows what they're doing from the beginning. You also need not just a special needs financial planner, but a special needs focused attorney, because they're going to help you with things like your will, of course, but also your special needs trust. And if you need guardianship or a power of attorney, things like that, having an attorney who knows about special needs planning is super important. We want you to gather up all of your planning documents. You know, what do you already have in place? What do you have? What legal foundations do you have? What financial savings, retirement plans, what do you have? It's like when you're going somewhere and you're using GPS, it needs to know where you're starting from to tell you how to get where you're going, right? So that's why we say, gather what you have so that we can see where you're starting. We want you to develop a letter of intent for your loved one. This is where you write down everything that's important, everything that somebody would need to know if they were stepping into your shoes to take care of your loved one. What do they like? What do they hate? What are their diagnoses? Who are their doctors? Where are you going to find all the important stuff? What do you want for them in their future? What spiritual beliefs? Anything that you would want somebody to know, you can put that in your letter of intent. Really think about, take the time to sit down and think about what somebody would need to know if you weren't here tomorrow. You know more about your child than anyone else on this planet. So you should definitely put together a letter of intent. If I were writing one, I would start it on my laptop. I would start with the facts, and then that will naturally flow into the other information. The more fun stuff, like what they like to wear and what they want to be called and who your child really is, and then print that version. And then go back to it maybe once a month and read through it, update it as your family grows and evolves. You can change that and then print the latest version and stick that in the binder and get rid of the old one. You know, I would do that ongoing, especially as major milestones occur, as anything big changes in the family, and leave that somewhere. Maybe you have a grab and go binder. Maybe you have all your children's medical information, whatever. If you have something like that, that's where your letter of intent should live. It should not be hidden on your computer behind passwords and someplace where nobody will ever find it. Thinking about how are you going to fund the care for your child? Well, first of all, we've been talking a lot about state programs today. There are also federally funded programs like SSI, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, SSDI. Make sure that your children stay eligible for all these programs because they do provide a lot of great funding for their care. Establish a special needs trust to put money into so that when you pass away, if there's the right amount of money in there, that money can be invested. It will start to grow a little bit, and then your child will use it and use it and use it. And we can help you figure out exactly how much needs to be in that special needs trust so that your child can pretty much be taken care of for the rest of their life. We want to do that to make sure that they're getting the best that they can. Get your life insurance and any assets that you want to leave to your child. The beneficiary needs to be the trust, the special needs trust, not going straight to your child. And if you have any other loved ones, like maybe grandma and grandpa or an aunt or uncle want to leave money to your child, again, it has to go to the trust. So make sure they set it up correctly as well. The other place that your child can have money is in an ABLE account. This is a tax advantaged savings plan where you can put money in. That money is invested and it earns income, and the income is not taxed. So you do pay maintenance fees, and there are over 50 different ABLE accounts across the United States. We could help sign you up for one if you want us to, or you can choose one of your own. This year you can put 18,000 into the ABLE account. If your child is working, they can put more than 18,000 in, up to $14,580. You can't put in more than what you make at work, but you can put in that additional account of money. But you should never let your ABLE account go above $100,000, or again, it will affect SSI. And for the ABLE, your disability has to have started before age 26. So I know it keeps you up at night, but hopefully some of the things we've talked about today and in our other webinars will help you sleep a little bit better when it comes to thinking about planning for the future. We always say that it's best to start planning now. It doesn't matter if your child is 6 months old or 6 years or 16 or 36 or whatever. However old your child is, you should start planning right now for their future. Developing your plan now is so important because it gives you the opportunity to have time to make a big impact. Things are less expensive. When you are younger and healthier, it's easier to make smaller tweaks to your overall plan to have a bigger impact in the future. And it's just best to get going right now. Think about what's going to happen after high school. You know, you don't want your child just sitting on the couch. So there are great programs out there at different universities. There's college programs. There's programs where they can go experience college, but not like take a full course load, where they can take maybe one class at a time, or they can take a class about life skills or something like that. There are fantastic programs where they provide mentors in college situations. There's vocational options out there, residential options. You want to get out there and figure out what resources are available to you and what you like. Of course, we do all of these webinars to help provide information. So keep watching these. We talk about this kind of stuff all the time. Sometimes we even do a panel webinar where we have several different residential communities come on and talk about what they offer in their communities. But they can have waiting lists, or they can have different criteria. So you want to know what's a good fit for your family and go tour it and see if there's a waiting list. And you really want to be careful before saying, oh, you know, little Johnny's sister, she's fine. She's going to college. She'll take care of him when we're gone. Well, in an ideal world, that would be great. It would be wonderful if every family could do that. But sometimes that's just not the right option. And you need to think a lot before you just assume that a sibling is going to want to step in and be a caregiver, or they're going to be able to step in and be a caregiver. They could see it as an obligation and just not want to do it. Or maybe they have their own kids. Their own kids have their own issues. It could be seen as a burden. And from the other side, the other perspective, your child who has the disability, they've seen this sibling all their life as a loving sibling. They have fun together, they play, whatever. And now all of a sudden, this sibling wants to step into a caregiving, almost a parental role. And there could be some resentment there as well, because your child might think, you're my sister, you're not my mom, you can't control me, you can't tell me what to do. And it can create friction. So just be really careful when you're thinking about just having a sibling take over. So these are some of the types of things that we cover in our webinars. Again, you are welcome to them. We always record. We always send the slides and a link to the recording after the webinar is over. So hopefully you registered with your correct email address, because that's where we're going to send it. This link here will take you to all of our upcoming webinars, and you can go ahead and register early for the webinar. Even if you can't make it during the hour where we're live, we will still send you the recording and the other information. This is our team. We've got 4 advisors. It's 2 husband and wife pairs. So Allison and Jeff, and then myself and my husband with the big beard. And then we've got a great operations staff who keep things running. Again, we are an independent firm located just outside of Houston in the Sugar Land, Texas area, but we serve families all across the United States. I'm going to leave this next slide up while I get to the rest of these questions. We offer a free consultation over Zoom. This usually takes between 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how many questions you have. We would love for you to go ahead and schedule through the QR code, or you can call the office or email us. We will be reaching out to you to see if you have further questions after this webinar, or if you want to schedule this consultation. So if you beat us to it, we won't have to call you. You can also follow us on our social media. These are actually links that will take you to our YouTube, our Instagram, podcast, and Facebook. Okay, so I'm going to leave this sitting up so you guys can write down all that information or click the QR code or do whatever while I go through the last questions. And then we're going to end hopefully right at 1, but if I miss you, just schedule an appointment. We don't bite, I promise. Okay. When a child under age 18 applies for SSI, yes, they look at the parent's income. So most children under age 18 cannot qualify for SSI because they're going to look at the parent's income and assets. So just wait until they turn 18. Daughter. Oh, yes, our daughter had SSI, but she had a life insurance policy with a cash value. That counts as an asset. So you would need to take her name off of that policy or cash it out and put the money into her ABLE account or special needs trust or something like that. I don't know if they would back pay, but you can certainly appeal and try and ask about that. Is there a chart? Okay, so SSI can be decreased by earned income. And I don't have a chart, but I do know how they figure it out. We do talk about it in some of our other webinars. So Barbie, this one is for you. Take the amount that your child makes per month. So let's say it's $12,000. Subtract $85. I'm not going to take too long to explain this. You've subtracted $85. That's the excluded amount. They ignore the first $85. Then you divide whatever's left in half. So now you should be down to like $500 something, right? Take the 943, that is the full amount, minus whatever number you have, the 500 or whatever, and that amount that's left over is what your child should be getting for their SSI benefit. Make your appointment with us and we'll walk you through that. When I refer, I'm not sure, Ashley, what question, when you refer to SSI benefits, are you referring to the cash benefit only or also Medicaid? Just the cash benefit? So, yeah. Yes, even if you if you earn money in a job, if you have earned income and you don't get SSI, as long as you qualify for like $1 of SSI, you're still going to get Medicaid. So that's very important. Gainful employment. And they ask when did your person become unable to work? I would say either I would put in his 18th birthday or I would put in the birth date or the date of diagnosis. Does it really matter? No, as long as it's before age 22 that they were diagnosed with a disability. I missed. Oh, well, there's the phone number. You got it, Ruben. Is there any way an adult on SSI and RSDI can make more than $1,550? Margaret, it seems like you should definitely make an appointment so we can dig into that. Barbie, I answered your question. Chesapeake's got an appointment. How do I find out more about HCS and group homes? So we have done webinars, Clarissa, with people from service providers all about the HCS waiver, where we spend the whole hour just talking about that. So when you get these slides or later on, you can look us up on YouTube and find that webinar. As a matter of fact, we did one with Savita Health talking about HCS just last week, I think, or it could have been Tuesday. I don't remember what the webinar was that I did on Tuesday, but we do have information on all of that stuff. And if you're not getting SSI or you're not getting the full amount, set up your appointment. Special needs planner, that's us. That's this. Special needs attorney, we can provide you with a referral for a special needs attorney in your area. And your question, any idea how much they cost? So let me talk about that. And then I'm really sorry, but we're already over time. So there are many things that we can do for you that are completely free. So don't worry about the cost. During our call, we'll talk to you about your options of working with us. There are 3 planning packages that we offer. The lowest one starts at $1,250. But again, there are things that we can do for you at no charge. If you need life insurance, we can help you find life insurance. If you want investment help, we can help you with your investments. We don't charge you for that. Of course, if you purchase life insurance, there is a charge to pay for your life insurance. There's fees and maintenance fees for investments, but we can do those things without charging you. And we can offer a lot of insight and help and answer your questions. And again, through the webinars that we produce, tons of advice and help there as well. Can you put SSI into your ABLE account? Yes. Set up an appointment with Consolidated Planning right here. Where is your office? We have an office in Sugar Land, but we mainly work from home and over Zoom. So you don't have to worry about hiring a babysitter. You don't have to worry about spreading COVID germs or anything like that. If my child went on the list, but now he's an adult, will the list change automatically? No, well, it's not going to automatically put him on Star Plus if that's something he might get. So you can put him on that waiting list too now. Just go to yourtexasbenefits.com. So yeah, all of you, I'm so sorry that I haven't gotten to all these questions. What certification should we look for in a financial advisor? Jane, you found financial advisors who are awesome. Just set up your appointment with us. We'll tell you about our certifications. Lots of great information. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, I have to get going and I have to let you guys go. So thank you for sticking with me beyond 1 o'clock. I hope I get to talk to you all soon. And thank you again for being here and for listening to me. I hope you have a fantastic day and that I was able to help you a little bit. Bye.